This place had been ravaged by wild boars many times. Fields were torn apart, fences broken down, and the damage repeated season after season. Small traps only managed to catch a few animals, while the rest of the herd quickly learned to avoid them and became more cunning with time. We could no longer deal with the problem in scattered ways. Together with the farmers in the area, we agreed to build a large trap, strong enough to capture the entire herd at once. It was a collective decision by the whole community to put an end to the long chain of destruction. As evening approached, while the sunlight was still strong enough, we began building the trap. Heavy steel mesh panels were carried out and assembled into a tightly sealed circle. Each joint was tightened carefully and driven deep into the dry ground. The sound of hammers striking metal echoed sharply through the quiet air. From the outside, it looked like nothing more than a cold iron frame. But in reality, it was a giant lock waiting for the right moment to close. Once the trap enclosure was secured, we installed infrared cameras around the area, mounting them high on tree trunks to monitor the entire trail leading inside. Everything was done quickly and carefully. We minimized human traces and left early so that our scent could fade away in the wind. The final step was baiting the trap. Bags of corn were opened, their sweet scent drifting through the late afternoon air. We scattered the corn to create a faint trail leading gradually toward the center of the trap. The middle was where the bait was placed the heaviest. Step by step, the herd would be drawn deeper inside without realizing it. When everything was finished, the trap area fell silent again. Only the faint smell of corn lingered now, and somewhere in the forest, sensitive noses had already begun to catch the scent. When night fell, the forest seemed perfectly still, but none of us truly felt at ease. Then suddenly, movement appeared on the screen. The wild boars had arrived. The large lead so stepped forward first, sniffing the air as she followed the scent of corn. One by one, big and small, the rest of the herd slowly moved toward the trap. Wild boars possess powerful survival instincts and sharp awareness of their surroundings. But tonight, hunger and the sweet smell of corn outweighed any danger they might have sensed. Guided by the leader, the others followed behind. Without suspicion, without hesitation, they rushed in to enjoy the food. When we were certain the entire herd was inside the trap, suddenly, bang, the final watcher triggered the drop gate. The sharp crash of steel echoed across the forest. In that instant, the quiet woods exploded into chaos. The wild boars panicked, charging in every direction, slamming into the steel fencing, colliding with one another as they tried desperately to escape. The ground was torn apart beneath their powerful weights. The mesh walls shook violently. The strongest boars attempted to ram the fencing with brute force. But it was all useless against the sturdy, carefully designed steel enclosure. The elasticity of the mesh pushed the powerful animals back each time they lunged. Some of the smaller boars tried to climb or leap over the barrier, but the height of the fence stopped them every time. Panic spread through the herd as they realized they were completely trapped inside a steel prison. In that moment, no one in our group dared to breathe too loudly. Everyone understood. This was a confrontation between the wild survival instincts of the boars and a plan carefully designed by humans. before dawn broke, we approached the trap. The boars were no longer thrashing wildly as they had during the night. Many were exhausted, breathing heavily. Some stood quietly, their legs heavy with fatigue. Yet their instincts still pushed them to run whenever they sensed movement. Seeing the herd of more than 20 boars captured at once, the farmers finally let out a sigh of relief. Before opening the trap, the team checked every lock and joint again to make sure the structure remained secure. They carefully observed the animals to ensure the herd would not erupt into panic again. Each boar was restrained, following proper safety procedures. Specialized tools were used to prevent injuries, both for the people involved and for nearby livestock. The wild boars were then loaded onto trucks for further handling. Part of the harvest would be shared among the community according to prior agreement. The rest would be processed according to local regulations, ensuring disease control and environmental safety. After everything was finished, the surrounding area was checked one final time. The forest was returned to the quiet state it had before. And when everything was over, everyone understood that the success of a night did not come from luck or individual strength. It came from choosing the right plan from the very beginning. A large net trap, placed in the right location and strong enough to hold an entire herd, prevented the need for countless scatter traps, the kind that only lead to repeated failure. No one forgot that deeper in the forest, there were still other wild boars. But the events of that night had proven something important. When people stand together and choose the right solution, they can protect their crops, reduce damage, and keep the community safe. It truly was a nightmare. Although I'm a specialist on a rapid response team for wild boar damage control in Arizona, I will never forget that day. Around 6 a.m., we received a call from a corn farmer about 20 kilometers outside the city center. He had discovered fresh signs of wild boars inside his fields and needed us there immediately. I knew it was another mission, but I had no idea it would become one of the most difficult operations I would ever face. After examining the tracks and damage left behind, I initially decided to deploy a small drop door trap, a single steel frame cage measuring approximately 1.2m x 2m. It's suitable when dealing with a small group of 2 to 3 animals. For bait, we place fermented corn mixed with grains and molasses inside. On the first night, we didn't expect much, so we didn't actively monitor the live camera feed. The next morning, we reviewed the footage. At 11:47 p.m., 4 wild boars were already crowded inside the trap. Each was about 1 meter long and weighed roughly 50 kilograms. Instead of feeling relieved, I felt uneasy. For animals in a small trap wasn't good news. It meant they were extremely hungry. And if 4 had shown up, there were certainly more nearby. I immediately went through all the camera data. Wild boars were appearing throughout the night from multiple directions, east side of the farm, south side of the farm. Just as I suspected, the number was shocking. They moved near the property as if it were their own territory, feeding freely, roaming confidently, and disappearing before sunrise. That's when I realized my first mistake. The small trap had underestimated the scale of the problem. The next day, I switched tactics. We installed large circular steel corral traps, nearly 40 meters in diameter and about 3 meters high. These traps were equipped with 2 one-way doors. The animals could push their way in, but once inside, they couldn't push the doors open to escape. This time, we didn't place the bait in the center. Instead, we scattered bait from outside the trap, leading inward, creating a natural feeding trail that gradually guided them inside. Then we waited. Just after sunset, the herd began to gather around the trap. They were cautious at first. The new structure clearly made them suspicious, but the scent of food was stronger than their hesitation. One by one, they started moving forward. Then more followed. There were no loud noises, no sudden triggers to frighten me. I held my breath watching the camera feed. The door swung shut. No bang, no chaos, just a gentle push. And they were all inside. The additional traps we had placed began showing similar success. The system was working. 5:40 a.m. I arrived at the farm before sunrise, with fog still hanging low over the fields. From a distance, I heard metal clank, heavy breathing, rapid hoof movement. As I approached, I saw them. Dozens of wild boars packed tightly inside the steel enclosure. They were panicked. A sow ran frantically from side to side, searching for an escape. Smaller ones circled restlessly within a confined space. The entire cage trembled under their weight. That was the most tense moment. If the structure wasn't strong enough, they could break through. I checked every locking pin, tightened the securing cables, maintained a safe distance. The farmer stood silently behind me. 3 weeks of crop destruction, now contained inside a steel enclosure. Once the situation was under control, the transport phase was carried out quickly and in an organized manner, minimizing aggressive contact and maintaining a steady handling rhythm helped reduce stress on the animals. This step was essential to ensure the intervention was conducted safely and responsibly. Effective control measures are not based on force. They're based on understanding animal behavior. In wildlife management, the best outcomes come from patience, observation, and responsible intervention. The goal is always to minimize risk for both people and the surrounding ecosystem.
Feral hogs are not the strongest animals in the wild, but they are among the most dangerous when they move into human landscapes. They don't destroy with a single strike, they destroy through repetition. And sometimes, the most important lesson isn't about eliminating a problem, but about learning how to manage it properly. In the first test, the trap was set with full confidence. The sounder moved in smoothly. Everything looked right. For a moment, the plan seemed solid. Then, the problem appeared. The gate didn't drop evenly. The response was slower than expected. Just a small delay, and the entire system lost its effect. The hogs slipped out with little resistance. This failure wasn't because the hogs were too smart. It was because the human mechanism wasn't precise enough. In wildlife management, a minor error is all it takes to collapse an entire control strategy. After the initial setback, a familiar solution was deployed: Figure 6 hop trap, a design that had worked well in other locations. But this time, the outcome was different. The hogs approached more slowly. They moved cautiously, scanning their surroundings and reacting clearly to small irregularities. There was no blind rush. Instinct had been replaced by evaluation. When behavior changes, old solutions lose their edge very quickly. At this point, the strategy shifted. Instead of trying to capture the entire sounder, the focus moved to redesigning and testing drop traps for individual hogs. The goal was no longer numbers, it was behavioral precision. The trap was lower, the response was faster, and most importantly, the sense of pressure during entry was minimized. This is a principle widely used in modern wildlife management: small, precise interventions instead of large, high-risk actions. At this stage, hogs proved they weren't easily fooled. The issue was no longer hog behavior, it was how the trap communicated with them. The decisive shift came with the full adoption of one-way doors. Hogs could enter naturally, without feeling blocked or forced, but when they turned back, the door's mechanics made exit increasingly difficult. This system works with natural behavior rather than against it, reducing stress and unnecessary risk.
Well, good news is they definitely some old foul hogs. Put one of them on the grill. Yeah. You can't be doing all that. Shame on you.
This time, the problem wasn't a mechanical failure, it was a false signal. Noise, vibration, and irregular movement sent the wrong message. This place isn't safe. The fix focused on hinge alignment, smoother motion, and sound reduction. Once corrected, the door stopped drawing attention. It became a natural part of the path. The final variable to refine was timing. Choosing the right moment became critical. With the introduction of remotely activated smart gate systems, human presence was no longer required on site. Here, technology wasn't used to apply force, but to reduce human visibility, lower stress, and minimize risk on both sides. This time, the trap functioned exactly as it was designed to. After repeated failures, adjustments, and trials, success didn't come from luck. It came from patience and a willingness to learn. When intelligence is placed above instinct, humans don't just protect their crops. They build a sustainable control method, capable of long-term use in modern wildlife management. Wild hogs rarely show up by accident. They operate within established home ranges and travel routes, patterns that shift with the seasons or the level of disturbance. Once a sounder starts returning to an area, damage can escalate fast, sometimes overnight. And by the time it becomes obvious, controlling the situation is already far more difficult. That's why, instead of reacting after the damage is done, many communities choose a different approach: early, proactive control, guiding, containing, and stopping the problem before it spirals out of control. Reading signs isn't about chasing or confronting hogs. It's about understanding when and where intervention makes sense. Once a sounder develops a routine in a specific area, any poorly planned action can push them into unpredictable movement patterns, making control even harder. The goal is not pressure, but clarity. The real challenge isn't whether to build a trap, it's where to place it and how to approach it. Wild hogs don't move in straight lines. They avoid routes that feel too exposed or easily disturbed. A trap set just a few yards off, approached from the wrong direction, or based on an incomplete understanding of the sounder's habits, can render the entire effort ineffective. In those cases, hogs don't need to confront the trap at all. They simply adjust their behavior and slip right past the control zone. Across much of the eastern United States, terrain is diverse and unforgiving. Low-lying areas with soft soil shift constantly with moisture. Slopes and uneven ground can cause structures to move or settle over time. With traditional corral traps, unstable ground can lead to misaligned gates or reduced effectiveness after only a short period. More advanced systems, on the other hand, can be limited by camera angles, blind spots, or signal transmission issues. Not every spot that looks convenient is actually suitable. Eliminating locations that lack stability or safety is a necessary step, one that prevents bigger problems down the line. A trap only works when it blends into the environment, when hogs don't sense that something is out of place. If the design or placement feels unnatural, they'll pick up on it fast and reroute after the first encounter. That's why traps must be set along established travel paths and feeding areas, including secondary routes most people overlook. Speed isn't the priority. Reducing red flags is. Unfamiliar scents, human tracks, unnecessary disturbance. Once the trap is set, the best move is often to stay away. When the area settles back into normal, hogs return with less suspicion, and that's when control efforts have the highest chance of success. In areas close to homes and farmland, traditional corral traps remain effective due to hands-on control and the ability to respond quickly if something unexpected happens. This approach allows flexibility while maintaining safety for people and nearby property. In more remote areas, where nighttime access carries higher risk, smart corral traps show clear advantages. Remote monitoring and activation allow operators to wait until the entire sounder is inside, reducing the chance of leaving survivors that become trap-shy later on. Neither approach is about confrontation. Both are about behavioral control and reducing conflict through deliberate, calculated action. What these efforts show is that protecting crops isn't just about tools. It's about how well people understand and adapt to the land they live on. When deployed correctly, corral trap systems, especially those with remote monitoring, can significantly reduce conflict and protect harvests more effectively when matched to the right conditions. Note: all trapping and handling of feral hogs must comply with local regulations and guidance from relevant authorities. In upcoming episodes, we'll take a deeper look at how smart corral traps perform in real-world scenarios, how hog sounders respond, and why this technology is gradually changing the way entire communities protect their crops.